Okay, so in this video, we're going to be talking about the periodic table. And ironically, we've been using the periodic table already to do problems in this class. So if you were a little stuck or confused when we were using the periodic table, why don't you watch this video, then go back and rewatch those other videos and see if they make more sense to you. I think they will if you were having trouble. So our goals are we want to be able to distinguish between groups and periods in the periodic table. And then given the atomic number of an element, use the periodic table to find the symbol, atomic mass of the element. And then finally, we want to be able to identify elements as being main group or transition elements in either a metal or a non-metal. Okay. So the birth of the periodic table started out with Dmitri Mendeleev and Lothar Meyer. So the periodic table of the elements is a table that arranges the elements in order of increasing atomic number. And elements with similar properties appear in the same column. So Mendeleev had blank spaces in his periodic table, and he averaged the properties of surrounding elements to predict the properties of elements that weren't discovered yet. And so here's an example of an old periodic table. Well, if I can go back. That looks quite different to what we've been using. And you can see some of these spaces, there's question marks in there, but they didn't know those elements yet. And so here's, again, the predictive and observed properties of, in this case, the element germanium. And you can see its atomic weight, density of the metal, the color of the metal. What was predicted matches very closely to what was observed. So the periodic table, we'll be talking a little bit about this throughout the course, can be used for quite a lot. One of the things it can be used for is predicting the properties of elements. Okay, so here's the periodic table that I believe is in your book or one similar. And if you don't have your periodic table with you, as you watch these videos, one thing that might be good is to just take it out of your book like I've done here, or print out a fresh copy for yourself. There might be some even better ones online that you can use. So here's the example of the one that's in your book. And so the groups or chemical families, this is something we mentioned as a goal we should be able to know and distinguish between, are the vertical columns in the periodic table. Okay. So for example, here, this is group 1A or group 1. Depends on if you're using US usage or IUPAC notation. It's just another standard system. We'll mostly be using the US system for the periodic table, I think, in this course, but just know both, okay? I might change my mind, I don't know, but I don't think so. So this is, for example, group 1A, group 2A, group 3A, 4A, etc. And so the periods or the horizontal rows in the periodic table. Okay, so the periods are the rows. So this would be period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, period 5, 6, 7, okay, etc. Okay. So here's an example box that we've already been using. Again, the top number here is the atomic number. The chemical symbol is in the middle, and the atomic mass is on the bottom. Okay. So how do we tell then, one of the other things we said, the difference between main group and transition metals, okay, or transition elements, I should say. Well, for the main group, okay, anything here, remember groups are the vertical columns, A, okay, this A here is main group. Okay, so any group with an A, okay, is called a main group element, okay, the A groups. So then anything here with a B, okay, this is a transition element. Okay, or metal. Okay. So they're transition elements or transition metals. Okay, so B. So keep that in mind. So any group that is in the A group is a main group element. Anything that's in the B group is a transition element or transition metal, okay? And then finally, I'll just say it one more time, periods are the rows. Okay, so now the differences between metals and non-metals and metalloids, which we won't be talking too much about in this class, is shown here. And you can have this table for reference. The non-metals are shown here in blue. All the metals in the periodic table are in red. And the metalloids, like I said, we probably won't be paying too much attention to them this semester, are shown here in yellow. They're kind of in between. And the transition metals or the transition elements that I showed before are kind of shown here. So another way to think about it is they're in the valley, okay, if you think about it this way. So transition metals are in the valley, okay, and they're in group B again. Okay, so let's do some example problems. So list the atomic number, chemical symbol, and atomic mass of the fourth period element in group 7A. All right, so let's grab out our periodic tables and let's do this together. So, group 7A. So I found that on my periodic table. I don't know if you can see this, but group 7A, I think it's going to be backwards for you anyway, which might be confusing. So sorry about that if it was, but group 7A, I see it here. Okay. And let's see, the fourth period, that's the fourth row. So 1, 2, 3, 4 rows down, go over 7A. I see that the chemical symbol here is B lowercase r for bromine, okay? Its atomic number, well, that's listed on the top of the periodic table, 35, okay? And its atomic mass is listed at the bottom for that element, 79.90, okay? So again, this is just getting familiar with our periodic table. So here's another question. How many period 4 elements are transition metals? So we go to row 4, okay? And then remember the transition metals are the group B elements, or the guys that are in the valley. So when I count across, or if I just go back a slide, this is period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4. Okay, these guys, these first 2 elements are not transition metals. Okay, the transition metals are shown here. So I just count across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 transition elements there. So now if I go ahead, that's my answer. There's 10. Okay. So this is just getting familiar with the periodic table. Again, we've been using it a lot, but just kind of to explain a little bit more about what we're using. And then we're going to be talking about elemental symbols in the periodic table in the next video. See you there.